Whoa, we're falling down! How could this be happening? Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's me, Mario here, from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my Let's Play of Kirby Mouse Attack, aka Kirby Squeak Squad for the Nintendo DS. So, last time we actually did Mouse Attack, but in forms of World 1, but in forms of Prison Plains. And today for this episode, folks, is the fact that we're going to be moving on to, I would say we're going to be exploring through World 2, but right from the get-go, however, though, we immediately start things off with the first level in the forms of World 2. But before we get into this, however, though, here's another new Kirby ability introduced in this game. Now it's the forms of the metal form, which is something is more likely the replacement as of how it does it in the Stone Kirby, but except the fact of the matter is, though, is the fact that you can't really see the actual brief Nintendo references now every time you transform into a different patterns of the stone and stuff like that. But what the actual premise is of the forms of the metal Kirby ability you can do is the fact that you walk so slowly. And also, I think you might actually be invisible for the entire time. Just like in the forms of, the Kirby ability Carbonation in Kirby 64 The Crystal Shard. Whenever you're trying to get, both rocks at the same time. And speaking of such, we have another new Kirby ability introduced in this game, and that's the forms of the Bubble ability. And yeah, I do apologize if my capture card recording's a little bit jinxed up here and there, though, but that's just how I think it is when it comes to capture cards recording, so that makes it a little bit of sufficiency here. So yeah, with the bubble, you can able to actually either just manage to able to use these bubbles as projectiles to able to actually go through walls, or you can able to actually just get something like out of these enemies and then able to actually transform into them into the forms of the Kirby ability bubbles, or even sometimes projectiles. See, even then though, as you can see, that I've managed to able to summon the projectile after able to actually just you know, trying to send the bubble projectile right back at the Waddle Dees, for instance. Because normally, if you manage to able to swallow up the Waddle Dees, it doesn't do anything other than being like, just get a projectile if you want to able to shoot that out. So, anyways though, so yeah, I think that's about it when it comes to the bubble ability and stuff like that for that nature. So even then though, there's the next treasure chest right there, specifically the blue one. And now we need to get the heck out of here, while able to get distracted by the forms of these, one of those squeaks, because of how the fact that with these squeaks, they are essentially more accurately a mouse squad of syndrome, because even then though that, well, they're trying to go after you, and also not to mention they're trying to kill you. So even then though that, these are practically the new types of enemies introduced in the Kirby games like this. Well, usually the only time we're going to be seeing these types of enemies in the Kirby games like this. But even then though, we're pretty much done with the forms of the first level in World 2, and let's see what one of those chests contains. Well, we've got ourselves another Kirby ability scroll, and also the musical sheet. And in addition to that though, we also got ourselves star seals, which even then, that could be described as when we actually get into the later down the road. And even then though, as far as the actual Kirby ability scroll itself, I believe there's something related to the forms of, I would say, the next animal ability. I'm not exactly sure about that, but even then, we'll see what happens there. So here we go with level 2-2. I should probably point things out right away though, is that the second world's name is actually known as Nature Notch. Because even then though, because we're going to be traversing through sometimes underground sections, noticing, and also not to mention with any other stuff in mind. So anyways, here's the returning Kirby ability in the forms of the past Kirby entries at this point. Here we have the Cutter ability. Now, what makes it a little bit more stand out is the fact that you can now even try to aim your Cutter ability in any sort of directions. Like, you can either just manage to able to aim it up in the air, or simply just able to actually aim it at the bottom portion of the actual sections themselves, which I will admit though, I really do appreciate about this little changes to be like this, especially noticeable that it's like way more influenced here compared to how it does in the forms of just straightforward shot in the forms of the past Kirby entries, which even then though, that I honestly don't mind about it, but even then though, that there's something that's worth mentioning about this, because if you can see, I can now finally destroy those bomb blocks with the forms of the actual cutter abilities aiming skill shots. Even then though, that's something's worth mentioning there. And yeah, that's what I can really talk about for that point or another. So And of course, I always get hits like that, you know, just like any forms of, you know, Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland, and especially with Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, you still lose your Kirby ability every time you get hit at least once by these enemies themselves. So, a little bit annoying right there, but anyways, we got ourselves a 1-up at least, because of how the fact that I've managed to pick up, you know, those 3 tiny Kirbys and stuff like for that nature. So you probably recognize how the fact that I still managed to got myself green Kirby with me, because obviously I'm actually going to be doing a multitude of switching between those different colored Kirbys in each of every single episode of this game offers, because you know, I mentioned this before about the fact that you can now actually switch between those different colored Kirbys in any time and anywhere this time around though, which is kind of a good thing though for me though, because unlike any forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, you have to simply turn off the main game and turn it back on again before you're able to change your different color. Which, to me, it always makes me feel like a little bit of a nerve-wracking experience because of how the fact that with the Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, that once again, if you're managed able to turn off your main game, excluding this game as well, how the fact of the matter is though, is the fact that, well, I know something, the only exception being to that, some sort of tradition, is the forms of Kirby Star Allies, because in that game, actually allows you to able to keep how many 1-ups you might as well carry up to, which even then, I will admit that I wasn't really thought about that at first. But anyways, we got ourselves another spray paint of Kirby. In addition to that though, we got ourselves these little metal pieces, which can be something related to a ghost syndrome. That could be only been one thing, but I'll save that for the extra video, so don't worry, we'll actually come towards that. So, level 2, 3, we're gonna be jumping towards the forms of, whoa! In fact, this entrance right there, it almost feels very similar to the ones in Kirby Superstar in my opinion, just because of how the fact that we're actually going to be falling down into the actual hole pit. And then next thing you notice is the fact that we actually ended up in this beautiful, nice garden environment, along with the forms of some of these ruins themselves, or even some of these columns as a result for this matter. Oh yeah, right from the get-go though, we got ourselves the big treasure chest from the start. But of course we do need to run away by the forms of the Squeak Squad of course, because even then though that, well, if you manage to keep getting yourself hit by the forms of the actual Squeak Squad itself, then chances are you might as well able to lose your treasure chest and stuff of that nature. Well, at least as far as I was hoping I won't not able to actually lose that. So speaking of such, there's another treasure chest here. Specifically the red ones. In order to actually get to it, you must able to actually use the bubble ability, because again, you can able to actually use the bubble ability to able to actually send out the bubble projectiles onto that certain parts of the level, which I think is actually very cool looking. So anyways though, so hopefully we can actually get ourselves the animal Kirby ability right there, because I believe the third and final treasure is actually required to able to get ourselves the animal Kirby ability, which, yeah, truth be told, I'm pretty sure we got ourselves a new ability, but it forms of, well, the animal Kirby ability, which even then, you can now simply just able to actually drill through dirt right there, which is very, very noticeable in some of these stages, as you can see right there. So even then, though, that if you want to dash forward a little bit, or even just trying to speed things up in the forms of the dirt sequence, then by all means, you can able to actually just go ahead and just use the actual drill attack before you're able to actually just go ahead and dig through more dirt. It kind of reminds me of the forms of the Drill Wisp in the forms of Sonic Colors, and even especially noticeable in the forms of Sonic Lost World, despite the fact with the forms of the well, the limitations of the Drill Wisp. Well, the only time I can able to use that is the forms of you know, Desert Ruins Act 4 and stuff like that. So I think that's the only level I can think of. So anyways though, we need to go down here, and as soon as you get to this point right, well, not for this point here, but if we go down here, specifically to this point, and if we dig all the way from there, then we can get ourselves the third and final treasure chest, but somehow I need to get rid of my Kirby stomach items, and then that way I should be able to quickly grab that. So that makes it every single obvious points there. So if you think this level's over, but it turns out though that we still need to get chased by the forms of, well, obviously a Squeak Squad. So what I found was kind of really strange though is the fact that that UFO Squeak Squad right there. I will stress that enough about the actual names themselves when we actually get into later portions of the game itself. But at the moment, there's one particular Squeak Squad character that I'm most likely familiar with because, you know, recently that Kirby Star Allies update did recently manage to able to get ourselves a little bit more updates in the forms of that game. So, but in forms of that, however, though, we'll explain more on that as soon as we get to World 6. So, because I'll explain more on that as soon as we're able to get to that world. So, let's see what these next set of 3 treasure chests usually contains. We got ourselves another copy pellet, new jigsaw puzzle piece, and a new ability scroll, which, I think that could be something related to Wheel, because, well, we'll get to it in the forms of, well, not so much for level 2-4, but in the next level after this, because, this level is once again super short, just like in the forms of level 1-5, except the fact that we're going to need to able to actually get a lot of usage of the forms of the, well, the boulder ball sequences here. So you can know that, again, this level only contains 1 treasure chest here and there, though, and that was actually at the very end. Like, you can definitely tell why when we get to that point. So, yeah, most of the music in this game, as I mentioned this earlier ago, it heavily borrows from the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror for a small extent, except it's on a Nintendo DS instead of on the Game Boy Advance. So there we go, we got ourselves only 1 treasure chest on that level, because if you do not make it in a nick of time, then you're probably not going to go after that, unless if you retry the level. So that's a little bit more things as far as we might able to concern with this. So anyways, let's see what in this beyond that treasure chest here. So we got ourselves another ability scroll right there, and this one might actually be something to do with like Cutter, because I can definitely tell by the forms of the actual color scheme of the actual scroll itself. So excuse me. Next level we're going to be hitting to is level 2-5. Now, do you know the forms of the secret scroll ability, or the copy ability scroll for Wheel that we've got from, you know, level 2-3? Well, that was the prime example as I was trying to explain to you about this, because, well, we're going to be ended up going towards the forms of the Fiery Cavern Syndrome, which we're about to get to that eventually, so even then, chances are we might able to actually come towards that, so I should probably point things out right away for this point, folks, is that one thing I haven't mentioned about this is the fact that this game has actually been developed by the forms of Flagship once again, kind of like the ones in the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, although, kind of thing about it though is the fact that this game might actually be the last game, or the last Kirby game to be developed by, Flagship, but not just the actual final Kirby game, but the final video game entirely that has been developed by Flagship, because after Kirby Mouse Attack / Squeak Squad, well, that's about it for the Flagship's career, because even then, well, Dims is now going to be taken over by the forms of some of these, before the Sonic the Hedgehog duology episodes has been revealed, and also by the forms of the continuation of the Sonic Rush games and all that stuff, but even then, no, that's just something worth mentioning, so anyway, so we got ourselves the Wheel ability, and this is what makes things interesting, is the fact that we actually use the Wheel onto the Fiery Pits. Even then, though, we can actually become invisible when we actually become, you know, Flammable Wheel, which is kind of awesome if you ask me. So anyways, let's try and get ourselves Cutter right there. So the only major differences between a regular Cutter when you use that is the fact that the Cutter itself, as far as the actual blade itself, is actually a lot bigger this time around, though, especially noticeable how the fact that it makes certain mini-bosses, especially noticeable with enemies themselves, are nothing right to home about. But I digress, so let's go and get ourselves metal right there, because that's the reason why we do need metal in the first place, is because, although kind of thinking about it though, is the fact that much like in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, there are some abilities that still needs to require to able to actually break through those metal blocks. So even then, if you want to able to actually get those secrets so badly, then chances are you might as well able to go ahead and recommend it, trying to able to go after certain of the copy abilities themselves. So, oh wow, we got ourselves a rare UFO ability, which even then, just like before, you can just simply just able to actually just do that as like a beam technique, or you can able to actually hold down the action button and then just simply just do a little bit of a powerful, devastating beam attack. So even then, something's worth mentioning for that anyway, though. So wow, I can't believe I actually got the UFO from the start, though, which sure is kind of a early point throughout, but hey, at least I don't mind about it too much. Alright, so if I remember correctly though, is the fact that, actually I might as well able to go after that specific, Kirby doll, bubble thing right here, because I need to go ahead and go after my way to able to actually get myself my next one up. So even then though, that makes it a little bit more sensible, I suppose, but even then though, because eventually that the game starts again, well, it's a bit easy at first, but as soon as we get to the later worlds, well, it starts to get still pretty challenging for the most part though, because again, much like in the forms of Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland, and even especially noticeable in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, this game once again still not retain a block button, well, until Kirby Superstar Ultra for the Nintendo DS, so yeah, I'm off with that big, huge treasure chest, and I'm out of here, so I don't have to deal timer with you, for the time being, sake of beings. So, let's see beyond the nose treasure chest right there, so let's see how these 3 items we've got. We got another copy ability scroll, and another jigsaw puzzle piece, and also we've got ourselves a key to able to actually unlock a secret level, so, pretty awesome. And speaking of such, let's go in and enter in the forms of the exit, or in this case, no, not the exit, the secret level on this level right here. So hopefully we're about to get things started from here. So let's go ahead and obtain the fire ability, so just in case we can actually burn down these bushes and all that stuff. That's the thing I loved about this game, is the fact that you can actually do multitude of things with the actual environments themselves this time around though. But even then, specifically with the forms of the Kirby abilities users themselves. So, oh god, what the hell is this? Is it like a darker version of Master Hand by any chance? Well, it could be different or anything, but even then, I might as well able to concern this much. But anyways, so yeah, it's a very simple, straightforward level though, and those of you actually being interested with this kinds of stuff, other than being like, you know, it's a typical, foresty looking, mashup level or something like that. I don't know if I'm truly saying that for this much, because even then, because today was actually forms of the 19th of July 2018, so even then, if that's the case, then well, we pretty much get everything as far as mainly the Delta for anyway, because even then, well, I've only got like, well, we actually got to the summer term at the moment right now, especially noticeable how the fact that until the next few days, there's going to be a big marathon we're able to tackle for at this point with Let's Plays and departments right there, because, you know, we're almost there to the forms of the Mega Man 11's celebration release date, then we can able to actually expect this much. So, here's the glorious returning ability ever since in the past Kirby's entries, ever since, you know, Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland, and especially noticeable in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, we have the awesome hammer ability again, which even then, just like before, you can just simply able to actually perform like a 360 spin, or even especially noticeable, you can able to actually charge up your hammer power, and then you simply just able to actually release the button before you're able to do a devastating attack. So even then, that, well, still, out of all the copy abilities in the game though, however, though, Hammer's easy was still one of the best. So, now we need to go down here, because I highly suggest you don't go from the top door over there, because if you go to the top of the door, then you're probably going to be missing out, because even then though, until we get to down here, well, after this room has been fully concluded though anyway, we're actually going to come across into the forms of, you know the golden enemies that usually becomes rare every nowadays, especially noticeable with the forms of, gold beanie from, you know, Mario Luigi Dream Team Brothers. Well, we actually introduced into ourselves the golden version of Waddle Dee, which if you manage to able to attack that very, very quickly, then you would able to, okay, I might as well take a hit then, okay, that's nice. That way I should be able to get myself my next treasure chest. So, and as usual, the third and final treasure chest is always at the very end of the level, but we have to be quick though, because, well, this particular squid squad right there can able to actually snag a treasure with them at all times, and then, actually kind of thinking about it though, with my invincibility lollipop as far as I've got at the moment, then that just makes it a little bit of a cakewalk and stuff like that for that nature, and while I'm doing that, oh, I'm such a fool. I'm such a fool. Yep, I'm completely a fool, I am. But if you manage to let him get away with the treasure chest, well, you need to able to actually go ahead and enter there quickly before it counts like few seconds before it starts to count down. Then, if that's the case, then you would able to actually not get a chance to get yourselves a treasure back. So even then, you need to be slightly faster than ever will be, so even then, that makes it more conception to this, though, on the other hand, though. So, And I've lost my hammer ability, which that's terrific, because even then though, I can't believe this particular blue mice right there just always kicks my butt. Even with the explosion effect, this usually becomes apparent. But as far as we actually got ourselves 3 treasures back, then I'm sure we can able to actually just cope with this though. Although, on the other hand though, I missed one of my health points. Shoot. Sometimes I'm not very good with these cannon shot goal mini games like this because it's always have to be so precise with your movements and all that stuff. So, anyways though, we got ourselves the, well, we got ourselves another jigsaw puzzle piece, and I believe that might be something related to, like, I don't know what that thing is though. And also we got ourselves another piece of a Fantility Heart, which even though if you manage to grab those 2 pieces, then, well, it actually extends your health meter. So even though, just like in the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, but this time around though, you have to collect like 2 pieces at a time. So even though, that makes it a little bit obvious at this point. So anyways though, let's move on to the next boss in this game, and things can get a little bit interesting right there, because you know the ones in the forms of, let's just say Kirby and the Amazing Mirror that we've already come across into Molly from before. Well, this time around though, we got ourselves a female incarnation of Molly, which I don't know exactly sure what her name was, but I'm also able to research on that kinds of stuff. But here's the forms of, well, I can't remember her name very well though, I will admit though right away, because even then though, that as you can tell, I'm almost gonna die right there. So speaking of which, here's the first step of the playthrough. Typical stuff any other Let's Plays can do every nowadays, which I will admit though, it sounds kind of a little bit trippy at one point. So, okay, so it turns out that you know the female counterparts of the forms of Molly, we actually come across into Mrs. Molly, which is, you know, kind of more likely a Molly's husband of any kind, because after all that, she wants to get revenge on us after killing, well, his, or her husband, if you will, ever since during the likes of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror back in 2004, so that makes a little bit sense right there. But even now, this time around though, that Mrs. Molly can able to do a multitude of things this time around though, because she can now actually dig through, like, she can still dig through the actual ground, but it turns out she can now actually chuck through more junk, and even especially noticeable is that she can also mess around with the background or foreground every now and then, which even then, if she was in the background, then you have to dodge her. Oh wow, that was a really nerve-wracking nosedive there, but hey, at least we'll take the big treasure chest any day though, so anyways though, that concludes Nature Notch. So even then though, not only that, but we got ourselves the boss badge, so yeah, pretty awesome right there. So, with that being said though, we're gonna have to end things off here, so join me next time while let's play Kirby Mouse Attack, aka Kirby Squeak Squad from the Nintendo DS. Here's the fact that we're going to be moving on to the 3rd world in the game, which I could assume this might be something dealing with Koshi Clouds, as far as the 3rd world is concerned, because we're going to be exploring through the skies again. So, yeah, that's what I can tell. So see you guys next time. Later, fellas. See you guys then.